Hi, I'm Peter from Coffee Parts, and I'm here with Damien Moore from Marzocco, looking at the super rare one group Leva X. Damien, welcome back to the channel.
Thanks, mate.
We did a video with you with a GS from the 1970s.
That's right.
And now we're here with the Leva X. But before we jump into this machine, for those that don't know you, do you want to give a 30-second bio of your story in coffee?
Okay. I've actually just last week celebrated my 20th anniversary in coffee.
Yep.
20 years ago, I started with a roastery, a fairly well-known roastery in Sydney that was distributing Marzoccos.
Yep.
And that was my first introduction to Marzoccos. I used to start working on them because no one else did. And over that last 20 years, as you know, the coffee scene has evolved massively, and Marzocco has become a massive part of that. And it's a company that I've been really happily involved with and working for such a long time. So it's a massive part of my life.
So you could almost say La Marzocco is now in your DNA, 20 years on this machine.
100%.
And I know you've visited Italy multiple times, to the original factory, now Academia, to the new factory. We've actually been there together, I think.
We saw the launch of this.
We saw the launch of this in 2017. We then were there at Host in 2019, where they actually had the one group. At the launch it was a two group. But it's been a journey, it's been nice.
Yeah. It's well, as you said, we've seen it together, and we can see how Marzocco has pushed in different directions. We talked last time about the GS machine and the technology involved in that, and the lever machines are quite different to that technology, but they were around, and that's how you made coffee up until probably the 60s or 70s, was a lever machine. And when we moved to that automated machine of pumps and automatic volumetrics, probably we moved away from some of the pure ideals of coffee making that the lever coffee machine could create. So Marzocco wanted to create a machine that not only honoured all the generations of coffee makers before us, but took that technology to another new modern level. So we took the best parts of old lever machines, and we removed what we hope are some of the worst parts of old lever machines, some of the inconsistencies, and this is the machine that we've created. It's a wonderful thing.
And that's what's cool about La Marzocco. They kind of push in different directions because they're really aware of coffee as a global market.
Yeah. I mean, our market is very demanding, very much pushing towards an automatic volumetric market, but there are so many different places around the world that are interested in coffee, and this type of machine definitely has success in other markets. It might not be as busy as ours, but Marzocco is, as you said, trying to cater for the entire world of
That's
coffee
kind of
drinkers.
what's cool. In Australia, it's a very milk-based coffee market, which commercially tends to have the machine facing the customer. In many of the European countries, the machine tends to face a wall with the baristas back facing the customer.
That's a good point.
And they're an espresso market.
Yeah.
And then in Asia, it's different again. So it's kind of nice that La Marzocco has basically recreated the lever with some of their pressure profiling strata EPs. But they've also honoured the lever and re-engineered the lever for that purest lever espresso, which is just one of a kind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to knock it. It works so well. When you actually have a coffee off one of these machines, suddenly you realise why it was such a good system of making coffee.
So on that note, we want to explain what they've done to this lever versus the piston levers of the past.
Sure. So basically the old piston levers used to generate a lot of pressure by you'd wind up a spring. And then the spring would unload water through the coffee cane. But it was tricky to get consistent with temperatures and consistency of the spring. And one of the big things, it was quite dangerous. You're using, I don't know if you've used those old levers, they kick back.
They flick back.
They were
called jawbreakers.
Yeah, that's right. And so
people used to pull it down, look over the shot, forget, let go, and up it went.
If you're compressing a big spring to 10, 11, 12 bar, that has to unload its pressure somewhere. So it would unload it into this lever mechanism. So one of the first things Marzocco wanted to do was remove some of the hazards. From levers, and so we invented this clutch system so that when you engage the spring, you can actually disengage the lever, which keeps the mechanism safe from hurting you. Other complaints about old levers used to be that the temperature stability was a bit all over the place, so we spent a lot of time from the GS learning about how important stability was. There's different heaters and different elements in different parts of this machine to make sure that the water stays at the right temperature. It's PID controlled. So the temperature part was a really big sort of factor in the design here. And then also we wanted to be able to give the operator all the possible ways to make coffee. You can adjust your incoming line pressure for pre-infusion. You can adjust your high point of the spring.
Just going back there, this machine can be plumbed in, but it actually does have a water reservoir hiding under here. And to emulate pre-infusion, it does have a rotary pump in there that creates the emulation.
Yeah.
But if you had it plumbed in, it would bypass the rotary pump and be dead silent. But they really have factored that into.
That's right. You need to have some sort of positive pressure of the water so that you are pre-infusing while you're sort of building up the pressure on the spring. So as I engage that and pull down, a small amount of water will be moving onto the coffee cake. So with a reservoir machine, as you said, we need a tank.
Yep.
And that'll also push water up into the steam boiler. We set that pump at, I think it's 2.5 bar. And you can reduce that even less. Of course, you can adjust the temperatures. These little indents in the wheel is how much volume of pressurized water you're going to push through the coffee cake. So this is a machine for people who know what they're doing.
Yep.
I wouldn't give this to the just everyday barista who's their first day on the tools, but it does give you an incredible control.
Yep.
And the results are spectacular.
And then do have a display here that is using a pressure transducer to kind of graph out what that profile is looking like. And you can almost emulate it again because you can see what if you've liked the profile, you can save it and then kind of...
It doesn't repeat the profile for you, but it gives you a little guide. Yeah, so you can sort of see at this point, this is when I might release the lever and create the pressure build-up. And this is kind of almost a carryover from that, the Strata EP that we created that could replicate this kind of technology, but we wanted to actually see the pressure profile because people are very visual now rather than just being told what to do. They want to see it, they want to have a guide. And the screen on here, you can have up to, I think it's 4 guides.
Yep.
So you can have different ways to make your coffee.
And you've got your timer too. So like it's giving you that digital feedback from, I guess, a vintage or analog system of making coffee.
Yeah, it's a nice sort of crossover of really modern coffee machines with the old style of a descending profile.
The irony is most machines now, if you're looking at pressure profiling or pre-infusion, ramp up, ramp down, flow control, are trying to emulate levers. So the fact that they've recreated levers, I find actually quite cool.
Best way to emulate lever is make a lever.
And doing all the glass panels is also super cool because a lot of the levers in the past had a casing around them. And people used to obviously remove the casing so it'd be more visual, but then you had the risk of the springs and people putting their hand through it. So they've kind of made it like a display item, yet still safe.
Well, I said at the beginning, it is a bit of theatre.
Yeah.
The engineering that's gone into this mechanism is also to reduce the effort on the barista, but yeah, it's fascinating to look at it. So to hide that would be a waste.
And I know that we're talking about coffee, but even from the steam side, the steam lever is really cool. I do like the way you can activate your steam.
Yeah, this one, instead of being a manual valve or a mechanical valve, it's an electronic potentiometer that you're moving up and down, which means that you could change the direction. If you wanted to have up to be on or down to be on, you can just tell it digitally which way to do, which is kind of fun.
You were saying you had a person that really wanted it to go up because they were a pilot.
Yeah, he's a pilot, so he likes the idea
of
the thrusting and the sort of, the thrust on the planes.
And I feel like some car guys would want to go down, like
gear shifting.
Gear shifting.
Yeah, like I've done it both ways, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it is just fun. This machine really is designed to tailor to make coffee the way you'd like to make it. As I said, I can make coffees off this. We use the same machine, same grinder, and then put a filter into this machine, and it just makes such an exquisite coffee because of all these little engineering things that Marzocco have done.
And then looking at it from the inside, it does share a lot of commonalities with just say the GS3 or commercial parts out of the Marzocco parts bin. So even down the track, although they've kind of reinvented a lot of stuff with the lever, it's still a machine that's using the same group head seals and the same internal. So it's actually not a scary machine to own.
No, not at all. You're right. When you open up the as we did before, you can sort of recognise what's in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always building on the shoulders of people who built stuff before us. So to use the same parts we know work, we know trust. The technologies are all coming together in this machine. You know, you wouldn't throw out one technology because you're creating a new one. You incorporate that into your new machine. So you're right. It's the same tried and tested materials that we use on most of our machines.
I do like that because when I look at a machine sometimes see machines that are very unique or creative from very boutique factories. And as beautiful as they are, I always start thinking,
how am I going to replace that part?
Something goes wrong,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's why I tell people all the time, the good thing about the Marzocco machines is that we have all the parts.
Yeah.
We can, if something does, you know, over time need to be repaired, it's quite a simple process to do that.
I keep looking at the machine, like, maybe it's a fanboy in me, but I just love like even the logos here and being able to see into the machine through the glass panels. And there's just something, I've seen this machine plenty of times in trade shows.
It has a presence,
it's different
doesn't it?
having it here and like almost just to myself or to us.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to make some coffees on it, It has a presence on, I think, on any bench, this machine. And the big commercial 2 or 3 ones, that's just multiplied.
I almost feel like every roastery should have this as a show pony to look
definitely,
at their...
Definitely, everyone should have
coffee.
this. You'll be buying all of them as well. It'd be great if everyone had one of these. We would be very happy. It does teach you quite a lot about coffee, though.
Yep.
Making coffee in this process really does bed down some of the things that you need to know and make a good coffee.
I do like the theatre of it rather than just hitting a volumetric button. On that note, should we load up the portafilter
let's do
and
that.
run an espresso?
Yes, let's do that.
So we've preloaded the portafilter.
Yep.
We've got 2 cups on top ready to go. I reckon it's time we make an espresso.
Let's do it. All right, so I want to tell you a bit about what this machine can do while we're making the espresso. Some of the parameters that you can control as a barista, besides obviously setting your peak pressure, which will be how high it'll start off the profile. When you activate this lever, the machine is pre-infusing into your coffee cake. So how long you take to pull that down will affect how much you're pre-infusing for. And then each little indent on here will push a certain volume of water through the cake. And roughly it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 mils. So let's go down to that sort of 30, 40 mils mark. We'll take the lever down. It's pre-infusing now and wait for the coffee to start to come off the spout, which it's just coming out now.
And we can see on the screen the pressure.
That's correct. The spring's just unloading now in through here, and the pressure transducer is recording that, and that's all being recorded on the screen as a visual guide. So if we made a fantastic shot, and we think, I want to do that again and again and again, I could save the guide, and then that would act like a ghost car on a racing game. Behind my shot, mine will be in blue and it'll be in grey, so I can try and match that shot that we thought was so good. Look at that, timing.
Looks good.
Cheers.
Very smooth, the cremas are just perfect.
Yeah, I find that this profile makes exquisite coffee.
There's something about, even when we're doing pressure profiling, that kind of ramp up body and ramp down and that long body.
Yeah.
That kind of just brings this really sweet taste.
Yeah, it's a bit of, I don't know, it makes me feel like you're doing something. You know, you're actually pulling a shot.
Yeah.
Instead of just pressing a button on a machine, which is great in a busy environment, but this is just so much fun and involved.
Kind of reminds me, if it was a car, you got your daily driver, which is your volumetric machine, and then you got your weekend toy.
Your Sunday drive.
Yeah.
The big blanket in the garage, take off the cup. Wow, that's lovely.
It's really nice. I keep looking at it because I keep being a little bit in awe. It's just different. Like, we've seen a lot of machines come through. Not necessarily the channel, but like
it
through
definitely
that
has a presence, doesn't it, this one? I mean, it's not little.
Yeah.
It sits on the bench. It's quite high, but everything you need. I mean, if I had a house that would suit this, I would build my house around this kind of machine.
I feel like it needs to be on an island bench that really sets it off.
Yeah, it's great to look at from all the different angles. You know, you were saying before, some machines are really good up against a wall, or from the rear, or from the barista side. But this one, there's things to look at it from quite a few angles. So it's a show pony.
Yeah, it needs to be on its own little island.
Yeah, it's cool.
I can actually, we were talking about it earlier. This would suit one of like that man cave that's got all the cars and that, and then you have this as like it's very mechanical, very car-like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or motorbikes.
Well, we were saying it'd be great to have this in a showroom for motorbikes, or again, you're right. It just appeals to that sort of mechanical engineer, the precision, which Marzocco and Italian engineering is quite well known for.
And I love being able to see into the mechanism and seeing it operating. To me, it's like an artwork that's just 3D.
Absolutely. And as we said at the beginning, the theatre of this machine it actually creates taste. You start looking at it, you're like, whoa, look at this, and it's exciting to watch coffees being made on this machine, which is why I think it's you eat with your eyes, they say in food, and I think this is kind of the same thing with coffee.
It becomes an experience. If you have someone over and you're making coffee on this, it becomes an experience of the making and drinking. I've got a feeling though, there might be some questions because it's such a rare machine.
Yes.
You cool if people have questions, drop us on the comments
Absolutely.
below and we'll
Absolutely.
both get back. You're more technically minded than me when it comes to this lever, so if you help me get back to these questions.
You're going to pull a few shots with Eric, aren't you, on this
Yeah.
machine? So yeah, you can see what a great barista can do with this machine. But yeah, absolutely, I'm very happy to answer any questions about this machine. The more excitement we generate about it, the better.
And like always, thank you for coming on the channel again.
Mate, it's always a pleasure.
We've been friends for like 20 years and neighbours, but having you come here means a lot to me. And to be on this machine that we saw in 2017 together,
Yes.
it's like a nice little full circle.
It is a nice one, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
And like always, if this video has brought you value, hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. We're doing a whole bunch of reviews on not only mainstream machines, but the more rare machines like this. And also knowledge pieces with people that have helped bring my journey over the last 20 years in coffee. So please subscribe and see you on the next video. Thank you again, Damien.
No worries.